Okay, so anytime you've got to solve a number story, there's 5 steps that we go through. 5 steps that we go through. Raise your hand if you think you would know one of those steps. Raise your hand if you think you would know one of those steps. Okay? And if you take a look on the back wall there, you'll see where they actually are. They say word problem strategies. It's on yellow paper. That's going to be right up there to remind you when you've got a number story. Okay? And the first step, which we just did, is to read it. Okay? You have to read it before you can do anything. So this is kind of where reading and math meet. Okay? In number stories. So I should write that, number stories, because the first thing you have to do, read it. Now the second thing you have to do, after you read it, you can't just read it and then come up with an answer. That would only be 2 steps. Okay? You have to read it and then you have to think about it a little bit. To think about it. So, and when you think about it, you have to ask yourself, what's this problem asking? If you don't know what the problem is asking, you're not going to have any idea how to solve it. So let's do that step again. And in order to do that, I'm going to just reread it. Remember, we talk about rereading quite a lot. So, Marissa read her book for 25 minutes on Monday and 30 minutes on Tuesday. How many minutes in all did she read? So as I'm thinking about this, I'm seeing the words in all here, and I know that in all probably means I'm going to have to be adding something together, because it wants to know all together. Anytime you see in all, it's a pretty good indication you probably have to add. Okay? So what's the problem asking? Well, it's asking me to add. All right? And so for the third step, I'm going to plan it out. How in the world am I going to solve this? Well, we're so lucky because for this, we actually have a planning diagram that can help us. Okay? So in all is actually going to be the same thing as your total. Right? This means in all. That's your total. So do we know how many minutes in all? Do we know to begin with how many minutes in all? Okay, does it say here how many minutes in all? Okay, give me a thumbs up if it does, a thumbs down if it doesn't. Okay, good. It doesn't. It doesn't tell me how many minutes in all. It tells me how many minutes on Monday and how many minutes on Tuesday, but it doesn't tell me how many minutes in all. So I'm going to put a nice question mark there. That's what I'm trying to find out. Okay, and see how this says write a question mark for the number you want to find? So that's what I just did. I wrote a question mark. And then I'm going to write the parts. Are there parts in this problem? Do you see any of the parts? Give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. A thumbs up if you see them. A thumbs down if you don't see them. Thumbs sideways if you think you see them. Okay. So the parts are right here. 25 minutes and 30 minutes. Those are the parts. Those are the numbers in the problem that we need to use. So we have one part is 25, one part is 30. Okay? And now we've got to plan it. We've got to try to figure out how we're going to find out how many in all. Well, I'm going to add them together because that's going to be the easiest way to do it. So, let's see. I'm going to say 30 plus 25 equals 55. So, I know the total is going to be 55. You can actually even write that right in there. Okay? 55 for the total. And then answer the question, 55. Okay? And then look here, this unit. Don't forget this unit. See, 55 what? 55 horses, cows, pigs, sheep. No, 55 minutes. Right? It says it right here. 55 minutes. I'm going to write minutes for my unit. So I have 55, I have minutes, and then the number model. Okay, I've got to show what I did. And for number 4, the step was to do it. Okay, and that's actually what we're doing right now for number stories. So my number model was just what I did here. 30 plus 25 equals 55. That is the number model. Okay? So you see there's a lot of steps. And then I can check that. I could go 55 minus 25 is and I should get 30, or 55 minus 30 is 25. That's how I could check it. So those are my 5 steps of number stories. Okay, of doing number stories. And the check here down at the bottom is, how do you know your answer makes sense? Okay, and there's a lot of different things you could write here based on how you thought about it. But I know, and see how I'm writing a nice complete sentence here? Because, like I said, this is where math and reading meet. Right? This is where math and literacy meet. I know my answer makes sense. Does this look familiar to you guys? Does this look like anything we've worked on recently? Look at this. No, and then we changed your to my, because I'm talking about me. Answer makes sense. Write what we read in the question in our answer. Does that look familiar to you? Thumbs up, thumbs sideways, or thumbs down? Good. Most of you it looks very familiar. That's wonderful. So I know my answer makes sense because the total is bigger than the parts. Okay, so that's one way to know that your answer makes sense. And this is how you solve parts and total number stories.